All right, let's begin the session, like always, with presence pause and breath regulation. I invite you all to please be comfortably seated and close your eyes if possible. I'll guide you through presence pause and breath regulation. Start by bringing your awareness to the breath. Bring your awareness to your breath. Just notice your breath. Now shift your attention to your stomach. Observe the sensations in your stomach. Now shift your attention to your feet. If they're touching the ground, observe the sensations. Bring your attention to your posture. Do not correct it, just observe your posture. Now bring your attention to what's running on your mind. Just watch what's running on your mind. And now, how alert or tired do you feel in your body? How alert or tired do you feel in your body? And where do you feel it in your body? Where do you feel it in your body? Start by taking a deep breath in on the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And a long exhale on the count of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A deep breath in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Long exhale out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Deep breath in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Long exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you can gently open your eyes. All right, give me one moment here before we begin. Sorry about that. Okay, so today's topic is evening unwinding. So this week and the next week, we're going to focus, and also this habit and the next habit is going to be focused on evening routines. Evening routines. And this habit number 4, is about evening unwinding. And our next habit is going to be about bedtime routines, Ayurvedic bedtime routines that can help support your sleep. So before we move to today's topic, let's briefly revisit something that we discussed earlier. Firstly, I wanted to do a weekly check-in on whether you're practicing all of these previous habits and recommendations, starting with the presence pause, the breath regulation, pranayam optionally, if you can, and 4-point hydration rhythm, and early dinner. We've discussed all of these so far. And we've discussed what evenings meant from an Ayurvedic perspective. According to Ayurveda, the time between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. is considered the Kapha time. And Kapha is the earth and water element predominant. It's the earth and water element. So it's associated with qualities like heaviness, calmness, stability, and grounding. And because of these qualities, this time of the day naturally supports slowing down and settling. And you may even notice this in your body. As the evening progresses, there's a natural shift towards quietness, lower energy, and a sense of heaviness that helps prepare us for sleep. So, in many ways, the body is beginning to move from what we call an intake mode to rest and repair mode. During the day, the body is focused on activity, digestion, engagement with the world, and processing information. But as evening approaches, our body begins preparing for repair, restoration, and deeper physiological maintenance that happens during sleep. So, for this transition to happen smoothly, the body needs a gradual reduction in stimulation. It needs a gradual reduction in stimulation. So we need to unwind during the evenings. We wind it throughout the day with all the activities we do. Evenings need unwinding so as to settle into sleep. But modern life, our evenings often remain very stimulating with screens or work or stimulating conversations or exercise, even sometimes late meals, continuing right up until bedtime. And that's exactly what we're going to explore today, how evening stimulation can influence the body's ability to settle into sleep. So, the question we'll be observing this week, this is Awareness Week. So, we won't really change anything, we'll just be noticing our evening routines this week. So, we'll notice if evenings come gradually, if they become gradually calmer, or are you being stimulated right until bedtime? Okay. And there are 5 things I would like you to specifically notice. Let's go over these. Let's start with screens and digital exposure, because this is one of the biggest sources of stimulation in modern day evenings, right? Most of us spend a good part of evenings on our phones or laptops or watching TV, and these devices emit something called blue light. And this is the first reason why you shouldn't why this is stimulating, because they emit what's called blue light. Blue light is a type of light that's naturally present in daylight, in sunlight especially. So during the day, this blue light is helpful because it tells our brain that it's daytime, and it helps us stay alert, focused, and awake. But the challenge is that our digital screens emit the same type of light. And when we're exposed to screens in the late evenings, our brain still thinks that it's still daytime. So we're confusing our brain, and our body signals get disrupted. So this delays body's natural preparation for sleep. So blue light inhibits melatonin production. Melatonin is our sleep hormone, which helps body prepare for rest. And exposure to bright light, especially blue light, later in the evenings can reduce this melatonin production. So this is why screens are not a great idea before bedtime. This is the first reason. And the second reason why, because screens and whatever entertainment we watch, they provide stimulation. We're reading messages or scrolling through social media or watching videos or consuming new information. Even when we think we're relaxing, our brain is still processing and reacting and engaging. And this is not ideal to winding down. Practically speaking, I understand it's not possible to completely eliminate any sort of engagement in the late evenings, because that's the time that we all get, like we come back home from work or like get time for ourselves. So I know it's not practically possible to completely avoid it, but we are aiming to just bring awareness to what's happening when we're stimulated in the evenings, and slowly, gradually work on reducing it maybe not avoiding it, but at least reducing it so that it can impact your, because it impacts your sleep. So gradually you would find ways to unwind better and reduce screen exposure gradually. So this week, as I said, simply observe your current pattern. How much screen time do you usually have in the evening? Do you tend to use your phone right before bed? And when do you generally stop using screen before bedtime? No need to change anything. We're simply bringing awareness to this pattern. Okay, no drastic changes at all. And second source of stimulation, let's talk about work and mental activity. So, even if our body is sitting still in the evening, our mind may be active if we are working. For example, we tend to catch up on tasks in the evening, finish work responsibilities, or think through plans for next day. All these activities like planning schedules or solving problems or organizing tasks, these require brain to stay in thinking and problem solving mode. And when the mind remains engaged in analysis and planning and decision making, our nervous system tends to stay in a more alert state rather than gradually settling. So ideally, evening is a time when mind can slowly move from thinking mode to resting mode. So it's better to avoid stimulating activities during the evening, especially late evening before bedtime. So ask yourself, if you're doing mentally demanding work in the evening, are you thinking through responsibilities or planning late into the night? And observe how closely this mental activity happens to bedtime. Okay. How much are you stimulating yourself? And the third idea is also about stimulating conversations or content. You may not be watching screens or doing work, but even stimulating conversations, deep emotional conversations, for example, can activate our thoughts and feelings. Even if it's positive and meaningful, it can energize the mind. And similarly, highly engaging books or exciting shows or intense stories, they keep the brain alert and curious, right? So when we read or watch something that's engaging, our mind continues to think about it. We can replay conversations or imagine scenarios. There's nothing wrong with these activities. Again, many of them are enjoyable or meaningful, and to be honest, way better than digital media. It's way better than digital media. But still, I want you to be aware of if your conversations or any activities, any content is still mentally stimulating you, even if you're not watching screens. So simply notice, how is your mind being engaged in the evening? And lastly, late physical activity and late meals. Firstly, late physical activity, exercise. It's extremely beneficial for health. We should include exercise in our daily lifestyle. But the timing of exercise can influence how our body transitions into sleep. When we do intense physical activity, our heart rate increases, our body temperature rises, and body becomes energized. So, exercising very late in the evening can make it harder for the body to settle immediately afterward. So, early evening is okay. I know many of us find time for exercise only in the evenings, but late evenings doing intense workout is not recommended for that reason. So, currently, I want you to observe if you're doing this in your current schedule. Are you exercising late in the evening? And does your body get enough time to gradually slow down before bedtime? Okay. And finally, late meals. We discussed this in the previous habit, dinner timing. I hope you all are working towards having an early dinner. Dinner timing and meal size can also influence how easily body transitions into sleep. We eat a large meal, then the digestive system becomes active and body begins to work to break down and process the food. And this can lead to restless sleep and inefficient sleep. So this week, simply observe all of these patterns. Are you still tending to eat a snack after dinner? And overall, observe all of these patterns. And I'm going to share a form with you in a few days. Early next week, I'm going to share a form with you where you will respond based on your current patterns as to how your evenings are going. This is just to bring awareness to your patterns, and next week we'll discuss few unwinding techniques for evenings, and then the next habit is going to be introducing helpful bedtime routines to further relax you in the evening time. Any questions? This is a short session today. Any questions so far?
ఎవరి నేనే రొటీన్ అడుగుతున్నానేమో డౌట్లు ఎక్కువ ఉండి.
No, auntie.
వాట్ అబౌట్ అదర్స్? అంటే నువ్వు మెలటిన్ ఇది చెప్పావు కదా ఇప్పుడే. మెలటిన్ డెఫిషియన్సీ వల్ల మనకు కొంచెం స్క్రీన్ స్పేస్ చూసిన వల్ల మెలటిన్ డెఫిషియన్సీ వస్తుంది అనేటట్టు కదా.
అవునా ఆంటీ.
ఇప్పుడు దానికి సప్లిమెంట్స్ వేసుకున్న దాని వల్ల ఏమైనా మనకు సైడ్ ఎఫెక్ట్స్ అంటే ఒక్కోసారి మరి ఇంకా ఏజ్ రిలేటెడ్ గా మెలటిన్ అబ్జార్ప్షన్ అనేది తగ్గుతుండొచ్చు. దానికి సప్లిమెంట్స్ వాడడం అనేది ఎంతవరకు సేఫ్ అంటావు మోనికా?
So supplementation is okay for a short duration. Say you're traveling or you have jet lag or things like that. To support sleep, supplementation is okay to a certain extent, but relying entirely on supplements, even if it's you're aged, I wouldn't recommend. You can easily control this with lifestyle. So I'd say why supplement, right? There are a lot of things you can do with balancing this melatonin production in more holistic ways. So I'd say go for that approach rather than supplementation unless you really require it.
ఇంకొక డౌట్, మెగ్నీషియం అనేది నైట్ టైమ్స్ ఎందుకు ప్రిఫర్ చేస్తారు? అండ్ మెగ్నీషియం సప్లిమెంట్
Magnesium helps promote sleep, yes. So that's why they prefer it during night time, and that's one supplement I'd say most people may require if you're deficient in it. Usually I advise against supplements, but magnesium is an exception. So if you're deficient in magnesium in your blood report, you can figure that out. Then it's recommended to have it.
అంటే మనం తినే పదార్థాల్లో కూడా మెగ్నీషియం కంటెంట్ ఉంటే కూడా మనకు నిద్ర ఎక్కువగా ఉంటుందంటావా? పొద్దున పూట కానీ వాట్ ఎవర్.
Yeah, for example, chocolate has magnesium and that helps promote sleep. And even there are substances that can help promote sleep. Next habit we're going to discuss, like some herbal teas and some herbs that help promote sleep. So yeah, we'll get there.
కొంతమంది పిల్లలు ఒక్క నిమిషం జిమ్కు అట్లా రాత్రిపూట పోతుంటారు, అది సేఫ్? అది
as I said, no. Intense exercise, especially during late evenings, is not recommended because it disrupts your circadian rhythm. It inhibits your melatonin production, and you won't be getting the best sleep, which is ideally should happen from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. In the nights. That's the ideal time to fall asleep according to Ayurveda. That's when your detox organs, which is mostly the liver, is most functional. Even modern science supports it. So if you miss that time period for detox and instead exercise late, then you're going to disrupt your circadian rhythm and hormonal rhythm overall.
So that's okay ma, దానికి హాయ్ చెప్పు.
Say hi.
Okay nana, right.
All right, thank you all for joining.